Again, Abhi Ashfaq, and today we are going to open the carburetor for cleaning for the first time. So let's get started. Sorry. Yes, this is the air filter which is connected via this and this nut and bolt to the engine. This one connects it to the engine head, and this one connects it to the carburetor. I've already loosened them. So first step, what we need to do is to remove the air filter like this, and now you have an exposed carburetor assembly. Let me give you a quick walkthrough about what each and every part of it does. Fuel comes in through that pipe here into this mechanical type fuel pump. It was yes, since this car is 1995 build, it does not have an electric fuel pump, so a mechanical fuel pump, and then that goes out via this and comes into the carburetor. Now the carburetor has two holes, double barrel carburetor as we say it. The first slot which you can see is for the normal operation. So when you are running at normal cruising speed, then this part of the carburetor is where the fuel gets injected. Let me give you a brief look. As you can see, you must have seen the valve open, the shiny thing that became black, and you can see some amount of petrol was squirted into the chamber. So that is how fuel and air mixes in the carburetor. And as you can see, the secondary valve is a choke. What a choke does is it closes the air opening. So because there is less air going in, the fuel air mixture becomes rich, which means there is more petrol for the amount of fuel that goes in, and so it helps in better combustion and starting of the engine. This here is the secondary compartment, and it activates only above a certain threshold. When that threshold is crossed, then there is this secondary in that goes into a secondary pump, which is called the accelerator pump, which feeds fuel into this chamber. So when going at high speeds, when you need that extra burst of power, that valve also opens, providing a more intake of air and fuel into the engine. So because this engine has been used for over 20 years without any service to the carburetor, most of the valves are blocked and clogged. So let's start the removal process. First of all, remove the accelerator cable like this and pull it out of its place, and as you can see, slide it out here and it comes out. So after that is done, the same with the choke. And pull it out. And take it out. So you have taken out the connections for it. Now it's time to remove the cables, the tubes which feed in the petrol. Step is to remove the fuel supply lines. This is the fuel supply line for the accelerator pump, which I've just removed, and this one I've just removed the lock is the main fuel supply line that comes in from the main fuel pump, which you can see there down below, and those two are disconnected. And this engine was actually a very high-tech engine of its time. It has a one second. Yes, it was a very high-tech engine, and so I'll show you one thing. This tube that you can see that's running from there to this bell shaped thing and into the spark distributor, it actually is a mechanism for advancing the spark timing. And so as the vacuum inside the carburetor increases, as the RPMs increase, then that vacuum will cause a lever to be pulled inside the distributor coil, which will advance the spark timings by a bit, so that there is high performance at high speeds as well. So it's not an old school motor, but it's pretty advanced for its time. So now I'm going to remove that, which seems to be a pretty easy task. I've removed it, and I'm going to tuck it in here. And now the other thing that I'm going to do is remove the connector for this solenoid, which is over here. What this solenoid actually does is that when your engine is turned off, to prevent the engine running itself, because the carburetor is a mechanical device and it doesn't need power to operate, so as you turn your engine off to stop the petrol coming, it blocks the valve. Yeah, that's the function of the solenoid. So I'm going to remove that. And the last thing I'm going to remove is that line that goes into one of those things. What that does is that in the case of when the AC is turned on, it provides some more boost and vacuum. So if I remove that, then it would be just a matter of removing those 4 nuts that hold it to the intake manifold. After all that is done, all you need to remove is that bolt, that nut in the front, and similarly there are 2 nuts in the back which are barely visible. I'm sorry. Yeah, here and there. So let's get cracking, remove those things. And as you remove this is the carburetor that you have got in your hands, and this is the intake manifold, which is all dirty. As you can see from the evidence here, it's all blacked out, which means this carburetor has seen a lot of dirt. So this is going through a bit of cleaning.